has the text, it has his illustration, it has poetry.
So you can see how these are all precursors to later. Sure. And also how the return address.
I think that these were 23 years old, right in the war years. He was in high school.
That's right, 15 years old.
It's interdisciplinary. It's multimedia. It has the text. It has his illustrations. It has poetry. And the very idea of form.
So when I could, I would even keep these envelopes that he
Sure.
sent, so I have his return address and
It has the text. It has his illustration. It has poetry.
so you can see how these are all precursors to later.
Sure.
So I have his return address.
But to think that these were 23 years old, right in the war years. He was in high school.
That's right, 15 years old.
It's interdisciplinary. It's just amazing.
Isn't it?
I mean, just the effort and the quality.
So when I could, I would even keep these envelopes that he
Sure.
sent, so I have his return address, and that's his writing, and the date. And so
It's
I
a
could-
fascinating collection because
Yeah.
it, as you say, it's interdisciplinary. It's multimedia. It has the text. It has his illustrations. It has poetry. And the very idea of formats. And to see these things as postcards and letters and brochures, announcements, it's remarkable.
Just
And, I mean, to think
many,
that someone thought enough of you not only to write, but to give you their concepts and their art.
Well, in a way, we were all we had to, for each other.
Yeah, sort of
he
keep-
for me and
to
me
keep-
for
to
he.
keep- to keep you alive, yeah.
Right, exactly. And this is a very nice one, isn't it?
Yeah,
Happy Thanksgiving.
very nice. He did the entire thing? Or he just took a
No,
postcard?
he took a very commercial
but he,
tourist.
But he created an image within it.
Yes, he enhanced it.
He
let's say.
enhanced it, yes.
Yes.
And then, of course, back here, the turkey. Very funny.
Yeah, and these are all various people we knew in common.
Yeah. Well, I've occasionally seen when artists would put a small drawing in the side, but nothing to this extent. And
Yeah.
as you say, the colors from watercolors and shadings.
That's right, and even collages.
Yeah.
Know. And of course, the letter writing part is almost a lost art. I mean, how many
Oh.
people even sit down and write a And these are probably the earliest collages that he
yeah.
ever did. They actually
Yeah.
glued
Yeah, I see,
photographs
yeah.
and very
Very interesting.
Dadaistic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So he called up and he said John Cage died, and I said, oh, okay. And it was very brief, and then I went out and got a newspaper, and I saw that John Cage had in fact died.
And did it make a noise?
Did it make a noise? It did make a noise, but that was the only time he talked. Well, I think some other time I asked him about John Cage, because those guys were all together on Coenties Slip.
A what?
Coenties Slip in New York. After
Oh, it's a place. Oh, I see. Okay.
in New York after he left Black Mountain, so I think it was 1949. And there was a whole bunch of people down there.
Boy.
Agnes Martin was there, but I'm not quite sure how close he was with them. But Merce Cunningham, I mean, he knew from Black Mountain, and some other people. So, I mean, he was involved in the social circle of John Cage a little bit. I mean, I'm not sure how much he did with them, but I mean, it's definitely out there. So he called about that. He called a bunch of times. It was strange calling him though, because you never knew what kind of mood he'd be in.
Seriously?
Yeah, one time I called him. He was really angry. And,
Not at you, but just angry.
Well, I didn't know. I thought it was at me. You know, he Ray could make you think a lot about stuff that was,
Gee.
you know, like you don't want to bother the guy, but you know, you have a question, you want to talk to him about something. It was a lot easier for him to call you.
Well, all kidding aside, is it understood why he killed himself?
Is it understood?
Yeah.
By me? No.
By anyone? I mean, is it? I mean,
There's lots of people who think that he didn't intend to kill himself, but
All right.
maybe just went with the moment and let go.
Okay.
But then all these people putting clues together, you know, they said, well, you know, Ray rarely did something like that without...
he rarely killed himself.
He rarely killed himself. But actually that's not true, because for years he was saying, I am often killed. And he was constantly doing suicides. Well, not
okay.
suicides, he killed off the New York Correspondence School several times.
Got it, okay.
He wrote a letter to the Time, to the Dead Letter
Okay.
group at Time magazine
So
saying...
somehow there was some poetry involved.
A lot of poetry, yeah. I mean, his
yeah.
death, I think, in any case, any way you want to look at it, was very poetic, even if, you know, he didn't sign the poem.
Let's see why I can't find it. Johnson, Charles Johnson, Gilmore Johnson, Mordecai Johnson, and Oakley Johnson, and Philip Johnson. But no Raymond, either John or Christian. I said, why is it you have the windows open? Look at all the street sounds that come in. I can't really hear your music. He said, well, that's programmed into it. It was a typical John Cage remark, because John always accepted the state of the world as it was, and found interest in what existed.
I mean, think of
Didn't try to
the
make up anything.
authors of the time, and they would actually send chapters of their book, and they would write about it to each other and discuss. And I think it was like that in art as well. When a person would get a new idea, I'm thinking of Picasso and Braque. You know, they get a new idea, and they needed someone to bounce it off of or to understand. And then there was also the idea of communication as well.
Art and writing, and the combining in art of letters and the combining in literature of art. In France, there's a long tradition, in Europe in general, of combining things into what they call a poème affiche, which is a poem, and affiche means poster, but it's usually the cohesion of art and letters, or meaning or content that is literal, so that there's a kind of extra quality of combining these two elements. Unusual, it's written in pencil and drawn in pencil, and it says chemistry class about 75 minutes later. So he was sneaking, writing these things.
And he was
off.
in high school then, right?
Yes.
Right, that's what I thought.
Yeah. And this was a little...
Oh, quite a production here.
Yes, it is.
I Love a Mystery, JR. That's funny.
No simple envelope,
No,
that.
no. Detroit, is that Detroit characters, you think?
Yes,
Probably.
Detroit characters.
Ah,
yeah.
interesting. And a beautiful. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
This letter is from Carmen Brand.
This is a poster of an exhibition he had in
Oh, yeah.
1967.
Yeah, mhm.
This was a more serious
Right.
work. This
Very
is
nicely
a
done.
portrait of him as a baby.
Ah,
you know.
naturally, yeah.
Self-portrait. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could see how these were all precursors of his later, later piece. In New York, we moved to New York, and almost immediately after we moved, Ray started writing me these letters, which I responded to. And unfortunately, I don't have the letters I wrote to him, and I knew it was my friend Ray. It was special because the postman just loved them, and he would come knock at the door. I lived in a little apartment on 71st Street.